Dear human being, beloved soul, I welcome you to my podcast series, Conversations with the Universe. After a near-death experience, my perception of our human existence changed profoundly. I became more sensitive, with all our known senses. I feel more intensely, see people with different eyes, and often take a different perspective on life and our challenges. In my books, I share these altered perspectives and all the knowledge that has flowed through me since my near death and thus record it. For all those who are searching for something more, for the meaning of our existence here on Mother Earth. And it is now a great pleasure for me to share this knowledge with you in this way as a supplement to my books. This season I am dedicating myself to my very first work, the basics of being. I wish you many wonderful insights on your path. Thank you. Love.
First, a quick note about my network, SPINE. This is short for the Spiritual Network and is the first global social media network for holistic knowledge, awareness, spirituality, and above all, a bridge between providers and seekers. I invite you to join us and connect with me there. Feel free to look around, find lots of podcasts, events, healers, but above all, lots of inspiration to grow. It's free. But now let's start with today's episode. Every beginning is a thought and a feeling. This is followed by an impulse. Free will channels this impulse, and the power of your heart strengthens or weakens it. And soon we come to the realm of words, which are a tool for giving this impulse more form. Words are the first step in communicating with the gross material world, and therefore it is particularly important that you are aware of the importance and weight of words. Words are thus a continuation of your thoughts and your power. They are an expression of these. And since thoughts and impulses are energies, words are also energies, but in a different form of expression. The form, see the law of form, of the human body enables this energy to be converted into words via impulses. Therefore, every word you utter is an expression of your energy, your consciousness, your thoughts, and the feelings behind them. Your environment receives these vibrations and reacts to them, to every single word, to every one. I know this is difficult to understand, but it is true because the law of connection and, based on that, the law of action and reaction are always at work. Every thought, every feeling, every word has an effect, because every impulse causes something. Everything you do has an effect on your life, on this planet, and thus on the entire cosmos. How you think, what you feel, how you speak, and of course how you act. Everything in your life responds to your impulses. I know many people who are completely unaware of the power of words and who believe that this view is completely exaggerated. But I am only recording things here. I am not inventing them. So you can do with them what you want, take my words seriously or laugh at them. Again, that is entirely up to you. Words are also measurable, vibrating sounds and tones, so they are part of an energetic process. Your words follow your thoughts, which guide these words. This makes your words an expression of energy. They are the transformed impulse energy of your being, and the thoughts behind the words determine the frequency of this energy, which you fill with your own unique power. Your will is the expression of your power and is therefore decisive. The more you want something, the more energetic your words will be. However, the decisive factor for their effectiveness is above all the feeling, the power with which you utter the words. If it is a power that comes from deep within the powerhouse of your heart, the word will have a different effect than if it is uttered without this power and only superficially said. In any case, however, what emerges is an interplay between the word, its meaning, and your intention behind it. The words you choose, the feeling with which you say them, and the power and intention of your actions determine how the words find their way, and that is crucial when the world reacts to you, because it reacts to you, to your power, to your words, and to how you say them. If your words are cold and harsh, you will certainly not be perceived as a warm-hearted person. If you choose gentle empathetic and conscious words, people will admire you for the way you treat them. In fact, words can destroy a person like knife stabs and small bombs. It's hard to believe, but it's true, because every word that is sent out causes the recipient to react to it. Whether they want to or not, that's how it is. The consistency of words creates a force field, an entire space of power, and this is decisive in the battle of energies. Yes, unfortunately, it is a war that people wage with words. Or, to differentiate more precisely, a war that they wage with their unconsciousness. For words are only an expression of the being and its thoughts. The more unconscious the being, the more unconscious its words. And this war of energies finds its worst battlegrounds above all in the interpersonal sphere. Interestingly, people behave very differently and much more consciously in their choice of words when they are integrated into a hierarchical construct. The inhibition threshold is then different. But why? Why do we allow people who are close to us to hurt us more easily? But why should it have less effect if you are friends with someone and insult them? The answers to these thought experiments are quite clear. The effect is always the same, but the perception of both the sender and the receiver creates a deceptive image of a different effect. But this is not the case. Words, sentences, and even letters always have an effect. Every single word has an effect, and therefore shapes your destiny. I repeatedly encounter people who form their words so unconsciously that they are comparable to the grunts of Neanderthals. But yes, we are also animals. Well, then know that the animal in you often throws words around too quickly and too unconsciously based on its felt impulses. People who use words unconsciously are closer to the animal in us than to the divine impulse. Seen in this light, you can tell exactly how consciously this person acts here on earth by the way they communicate. The choice of words, the power behind them, and the heart create what you resonate with other people every day. The words that surround you change you. They have a direct effect on you. They shape your energy field, influence it, and you react to it, mostly completely unconsciously. Are you greeted with a smile in the morning, or not at all? Do your fellow human beings ever ask you how you are, or never? When you smile at them, do you get a smile in return, or an unfriendly remark like, "Why are you laughing again?" When you approach someone, do they greet you with a smile and a friendly hello, or with remarks like, "What do you look like again?" When you ask a question, do you get an answer or just a snappy comment? For example, do you ask, "What was the name of that book you liked so much?" And the answer is, "I've told you 100 times," instead of a respectful and, above all, helpful answer. I myself have experienced several times how my energy changed when I had to endure unfriendly and disrespectful words being hurled at me. Words are an expression of the energy of the person standing in front of you. If the words are not nice, then neither is the person. If the words are aggressive, then so is the person. If the words are full of hatred, then so is the person. If they are full of love, then the person is filled with that love. You are a sensitive energy that resides in an organism. When such disrespectful words reach you, your heart will close more and more, and eventually you will close yourself off. Then it will become increasingly difficult for you to open up, to communicate, or to send a smile out into the world. A vicious circle that you have entered without really being the initiator yourself. And all this just because you reacted to the words that reached you without knowing it. And it is exactly the same when you form words yourself. Your counterpart is always directly connected to you and can and must react to you and your words. If you use disrespectful words, you will reap disrespect, sometimes immediately, but usually much later. Time multiplies power, so the reaction to your words will be much stronger. Words are energy. And this energy can be hurtful, but it can also be inspiring. There is scientific research on water crystals and how they change when vibrations affect them. This water was exposed to positive words such as love or joy, and beautiful crystal shapes emerged. When exposed to words such as hate, anger, or insults, the crystals crippled, contracted, and deformed into disharmonious shapes. So these small crystals reacted, every single one of them. And it is the same with us humans. Humans consist of 73% water. So this proportion alone in us reacts to words, i.e., vibrations, in the same way as the water crystals did. Water is also just, an element that, bound by cosmic laws, simply reacts to spoken words. So the water carriers within us, our cells, are disgusted by every word they hear. But water reacts not only to the vibration of your words, but to everything, how you are, what you think, how you feel. Your entire appearance is absorbed and translated by the wonderful element of water. All the thoughts you think, the feelings that fill you, and of course your words and those of others have an effect on this water within you. There is not a single day when these waves have no effect, so know this: words have an effect. Always. Every single word causes a reaction. Consequently, numbers and symbols also have an effect in interaction with the energy fields that surround us, in which we are embedded and which you yourself can create. Symbols and numbers are actively effective signs that, in interaction with the resonance fields, can have a positive or negative effect on the place where they are applied. At the same time, they are also carriers of knowledge and encoders of behind-the-scenes knowledge. Each, in its own way, reveals to us which energies are at work. I have already discussed this in relation to your birthday. Each number is a new world in itself, and it is very helpful in life to know this tool, the encoder, so that you can use it more consciously. Everything that is born in this world is subject to the laws of energy, and you can trace these laws back through the numbers. This applies not only to the birth of us humans, but also to the birth of an idea. It too is subject to cosmic laws and does not come to you by chance when it does. The numbers for encoding the timeline are the key to recognizing the laws behind what has happened more quickly and better. They are like a dictionary in which you can look up which energies have been at work and will continue to be at work. And so, for those who know, a symbol can also hold all encoded knowledge, similar to numbers, but they work differently. To make the topic a little easier to understand, I remind you of our example of the sea of energies. If, for example, a hole is drilled in the ground at any point in this sea, it changes the flow of water at that point, and thus the energy of the place. And it is exactly the same in the sea of energy with numbers and symbols. Here, the numbers act like a hole that you have drilled in the sea of energy, into which the water then flows. The symbols, on the other hand, act like a mountain in this sea. They displace the water at this point and change it. You have learned that clockwise energies slow down, condense, and change their frequency in the process. They thus become slower and lower vibrating energies. Numbers create exclusively clockwise energy fields and attract energies from the ether to a specific location, like a kind of acupuncture. High vibrating energy units are slowed down by the numbers and drawn to our gross material plane. This allows them to manifest here and form new matter. With numbers, you can, for example, specifically influence an organ by creating an energy field through them that changes and transforms the energy field of the organ via the coded but also actively working energy of the number. Knowing helps to understand, and understanding helps to act correctly. Scientists in Russia have just realized that this is the case and have been able to recreate entire organs with the help of number codes. I hope and believe that in the coming years, the true potential of numbers will be recognized and utilized even more quickly and clearly. This is a great treasure that is available to humanity and is still virtually untapped. Symbols are left-turning, accelerating, and counteract condensation, i.e., they do not act selectively like numbers, but rather more broadly. They do not concentrate energies, but scatter them. In this way, they create large, expansive new energy fields. They use the energy of the place in interaction with the consciousness of the user or observer, embedded in the laws of the cosmos, and multiply an effect depending on the conditions of the cosmos. Numbers are not so strongly bound to the consciousness of the person who uses them. They are a direct bridge into the ether, and therefore act like a concentration of energy on matter. Numbers are both the code and the manifester of the place where they are to take effect, and there they draw the energy from the ether directly to this point. The consciousness of the user or observer can, but does not necessarily have to, have a noticeable effect there. Ultimately, the energies are bundled by the numbers in such a way that effects are only possible in the strength of the bundling, but not in the information that is brought into matter. A 7, for example, will always concentrate a very specific energy from the ether, regardless of whether the viewer knows exactly what is behind it or not. With symbols, it is exactly the opposite. There, the consciousness of the person using the symbol multiplies its effect. Depending on how developed the being is, the symbols have a greater or lesser effect, deeper or less deep. Symbols work across the ether through the energy of the place and the consciousness of their creator or reader. Numbers act as bridges for the energies from the ether, resonating with the performer and acting selectively on the place of execution. We are always more than what our eyes can see, so I advise you to use these tools. It works, always, but use them with the loving intention of connecting with everything. As you have already experienced, an impulse at an energy intersection can influence the energy field of the entire Earth and thus also people. Energy intersections, such as at all pilgrimage sites, sacred places, or even in the Vatican, are left-turning energy vortexes. So if you scatter a symbol there, which also always has a left-turning effect, both fields multiply and create a very strong energy field. Since symbols can also carry negative energies, this energy turbo must be used very responsibly, especially in connection with symbols. In black magic in particular, you will find many examples where forces that can have a healing effect have been abused by low consciousness. In quantum physics, there is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. This states that the observer of an event is always part of the field in which the event takes place. So if the observer changes, the event also changes. However, the decisive factor for this change is above all the consciousness of the observer, their being. This means that symbols have a much stronger effect when they are used by someone who is knowledgeable. The more conscious this person is, the stronger the effect in the energy worlds. For example, runes always work in interaction with the observer. Like everything in duality, numbers and symbols can have both positive and negative effects. They can both heal, but they can also be destructive. The decisive factors here are the application and location of the respective symbol or number. In order to use numbers and symbols more consciously and even more positively, I can only recommend that you study the knowledge of numbers and symbols. So to summarize, words are forms of expression, and thus extensions of the mind that shapes them. How and what a person speaks shows how conscious they are of themselves. Symbols and numbers create self-contained, independent systems with their own energy field and their own fields of action. These fields of action are in absolute connection with everything that is. Numbers concentrate energy, symbols disperse it. The place where a symbol is applied determines the material multiplication of the symbol's energy. The consciousness of the person who applies it determines its subtle effect. The place where a number is placed condenses the code and the energy so that it can have a selective effect there. Energy does not disappear. As long as a number and a symbol are in one place, it will have an effect. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to the next time here at Conversations with the Universe. Thank you, love. And I would like to remind you to join our community Spine. We are a community that wants to help you live a healthier life, practice your spirituality, and expand your consciousness. We help you find and connect with healers around the world, and we help you give your life a new meaning in different ways. We are Spine, connections that help.